Still hurts every single time they come out, but worth it, bub. No, I love Wolverine.
Hey, bub, you should have called in sick today.
I think I auditioned for them both at the same time, because generally when we audition for games, they'll give us a list of characters to choose from, and we audition for a whole pile of them. But we recorded Venom first. There are some actors that come in and say, well, my character would never say this. Well, how do you know? It's a different production team, and it's not your character. You didn't write it. So shut up. So that's
Hold on, there's a little passion behind that. What's going on?
Yeah. Getting older now, the quality of life is everything for me. So I was killing myself, honestly. I was working too much back in the day.
You doing, Boy Scout? I don't take orders from you.
You don't become a Guinness World Record holder for voice acting by luck. It takes time, passion, and dedication to the craft, which my guest has and then some. Welcome to Jantmore Interviews, and as always, I'm your humble host, Josh, aka Jantmore. For 20 years, you've come to love my guest as the voice of Marvel's Wolverine and many video games and animated material. Most recently in the smash hit game, Marvel Rivals. Also as Venom in Marvel Rivals and Ultimate Alliance 1 and 3, Green Goblin in Spectacular Spider-Man, Future Revolution, and Ultimate Alliance 3, Amon in Legend of Korra, Starscream and Transformers Prime, Grunt in Mass Effect, Tecmo and Regular Show, Tank Dempsey in Call of Duty, Zabuza, Orochimaru, and Ononoki in Naruto, Tom from Toonami, Spike Spiegel in Cowboy Bebop, Baraka and Sub-Zero in Mortal Kombat, and if I spent my time listing off all the characters he played, there would be no interview. With over 800 acting credits to his name, he continues to bring characters to life brilliantly, and is even teaching the next generation of voice acting talent. Please help me welcome dear friend and world's most prolific video game voice actor, Steve Blum. There we go.
Oh, hey, there you are. Nice to see you again, buddy.
It's so good to see you. I genuinely am so sorry for that intro. I was butterflies. But it's so good to see you.
I totally understand. When I started to have to do on-camera videos for my school, I felt like I was going to poop myself every time. So I'm right there with you. I just saw OG Banks is in the chat.
Yes.
I love OG. I never get to see him anymore.
Oh, that's so good.
What are you doing slumming with us, buddy? How's your mom, Josh?
She's good, man. It's funny. I thought I was gonna be late because we were picking out a car, so we were doing that this morning. But she's a trooper, like I told you, and she's doing it. I'm just there to help her along the way. I'm trying to get her to sit down for 5 seconds, but she will not. She keeps moving, and I'm just like, Mom, please let me do this. And she's like, well, I know you're doing this. I'm like, okay, I understand, but please let me help you. And it's a whole thing, but we're good. We're surviving, and we're doing okay. So thank you for asking. That really means a lot. I appreciate you, man.
She sounds like a tough cookie.
She is, and very, very hard to get her to sit down. But I'm the same way.
It's like I'm standing right now.
Right. We're always working. We're always trying to do the next thing. But thank you so much for joining me again. I know you're a busy guy and there's a lot of stuff happening. So it's just an honor to be speaking to you again. So thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to make a great show for you.
Well, my pleasure and privilege to be here. You're one of my favorites. So thanks for doing what you do.
Absolutely. Well, man, it's funny enough, I want to show you this binder. This binder was the first thing I started writing interview questions in 2021 in my trailer park. I remember just writing down people I wanted to interview, and it's so funny. There's a crazy amount of people in here. There's Pedro Pascal and Troy Baker and all these other crazy people. But I put you and Fred Tatasciore on the list of people I wanted to speak to in the near future or whatever. And to not only be able to interview you 4 years ago at this point, Jesus, time is weird, to interview you, but to be your friend and to see your career blossom and to see you do great things is one of the greatest privileges of my life. So it's just, I don't even know, man. It's just great. So, but with that time happening, man, you got a new house. We're both in a different location. So yeah. I love your voice recording room. Can you like give us a little tour and talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, this is my new booth. I've been working out of closets for most of my career, and literally, and foam on the walls and doing what I can to mitigate sound. And had a pretty good LA, what was it? LA vocal booths, portable booth back in Burbank, only because I had to because it was so loud around the house. Brought that here, put it into our temporary lodgings while we were building this house. And this is the first booth that was custom designed, and it's acoustically perfect. It was built well. It was designed by the guy who did James Arnold Taylor's booth, and yeah. So this guy gave us blueprints for this room, and I live in Hawaii, so obviously you couldn't come here and build it. And it was a monumental task. It was supposed to be the first thing in the new house that was built. It turned out to be the last thing because the guy that they put on assignment for this house was supposed to be a professional studio builder. He spent 2 days on it and then bailed. And it's typical Hawaii. This is what happens in Hawaii. He just bailed and just decided he didn't want to do the job. He got a better paying job or something. I don't know. And they ended up having to rip out everything he had done because he didn't go to plan. So this was the last thing in the house to be built. And the guys who did all of the finishing the baseboards and the ceiling panels and things like that in the house ended up coming in and said, well, we've got a full blueprint here. We can just follow directions and do it. And went, okay. So I got out there and I was cutting and staining and sanding all of these pieces. Every one of these has a purpose. They're diffusers for the room. It's all repurposed mahogany. All the wood in here is repurposed mahogany. The room is 3 layers deep. The walls are about that thick, and it's floating. The whole room is floating. Got a floating floor. And then behind these panels, we've got 3 walls of acoustic drywall and 3 layers of battening, acoustic deadening foam that are behind that. And then these, I went out and picked the fabric here in Hawaii. It's a local fabric maker. And we just put some more acoustic batting behind that and stapled it to it. But I don't think I can show it to you guys, but the ceiling is treated in here. I think, yeah, that's as far as that'll go. Shoot. Wow. Yeah, I can't show you, but the whole ceiling is diffusers like this and more of the paneling. I've got a full AC system in here that's silent. First time I've ever had that in any studio, because for all of you voice actors out there, you know that we spend most of our time sweating in a booth with no air conditioning. And I had even jury rigged my old LA vocal booth. It has an air system that has little fans on there, but it's almost worthless. So I would actually put ice packs. And I built like this little screen. I stuck ice packs for the intake. Or the outflow, to go back into the room to try to keep me cool, because I'd be in here in the booth for like 4 or 5 hours at a time. And it was just miserable. Every booth I've ever been in is miserable, except for this one. So it also has, I left the door open now, so let me know if the sound is not good, but that's the door. It's about 1,000 pounds. That door weighs about 1,000 pounds.
Don't get hit by that.
No, it took 6 of us to carry it in here. And I've got a window on this side. You can see that.
Can see it a little bit. There we go.
Not quite there. Yeah, you can see some of the guitars and stuff. And I do have a view of our backyard and ultimately the ocean beyond that. So I keep that curtain closed most of the time just because it's distracting, and also just for light control and whatever. But it's a really solid booth. And when I close this door, I don't know if you'll notice the sound. Here we go. Now, is it deader? Yeah. So this is what it sounds like when I'm recording for broadcast. And I needed to build a booth because I moved to Hawaii. Also, I needed to build a booth that would be acoustically up to par with pretty much anything that they have in LA, so that I didn't have to fly back there for sessions. So I upgraded everything. I've got, top of the line mics, really good lighting system now, good cameras. So I can do full production in this room. And best I've ever had. And all the engineers, I had to fight with the engineers and production companies for the last year or so as everybody started going back into the studios after the pandemic. I had to keep proving that my quality was going to be good enough. And every time I send it in, they go, "Oh, that's actually better than what we can get here." So yeah, you're good. We don't have to bring you out to LA. So
I'm crying.
it's just my master plan, so I don't have to leave the island other than for conventions. So it was well worth every penny and every bit of sweat and blood we put into this place. But it's an amazing room, and I have all my microphones on quick fits, so I can just pop them out and stick them back in. I've got 416 there and Gefell M930, which I love this little microphone. A lot of people don't know about this one, but German, some of the same manufacturers, some of the same people that worked on the Neumanns, which is what I'm on right now, built these little things, and they are amazing. Disney loves these. I use these for all the Disney shows now. So, yeah. So I've got a pretty good array of stuff in here, and I can do pretty much anything I need to, so I can stay home.
He said, "I'm ready." He said, "I'm ready." Okay, that's so cool. I love that.
Yeah, and then also because of the diffusers here, if I need to get more of an ambient live tone, I can actually turn the whole room around and face that, and so that I can fly mics in from the ceiling. I've got these things coming in from all over the place. I've got these armatures that kind of come in from all over the place, so I can completely reconfigure the room if I need to, if I'm doing looping or something and they need more of an ambient tone. So far, I haven't had to do too much of that, but I can run up to 4 microphones and 3 cameras in here at the same time. So,
dude, what is happening over there?
It's a pretty good room, and for an old man, upgrading tech is always a challenge. So I'm learning all the time.
Even for me, I'm just always looking for something new, looking for a new mic, I have to get a new camera. Unfortunately, the one I had, I don't know if the actual camera is broke or if it's the lens that I have to get a new lens, but I need to get a new camera. I'm always looking at new mics. Corey is always talking about microphones to me. So I'm just like, hey, Corey, like what should I get? And he just sends me like the biggest paragraph of like all the microphones you could think of. So this is great.
Yeah, Corey's a damn genius. He came in and did a class with me, and oh my God, yeah, just talking tech with him. What a mind on that guy. And he has tried every microphone out there too, and knows the whole history of them. Fascinating guy. One of my absolute heroes.
I'm glad we both know such a phenomenal person in the industry who he's told me about all the stories about how he's helped like D. Bradley Baker pick out his microphones and all this. It's just like I'm just so blessed to know him. Another person I've known for like 4 years. Oh my God, it's awesome. And I
think you got me in touch with him, right?
I'm about to say, who got you that? Who got you that?
I was going to say, because I've known Corey for years. We worked on shows together, but I didn't have his contact information. So thank you for doing that. Yeah, that was great.
I always make sure to keep Corey in the loop with like stuff like that, like with Jim Cummings' podcast, which you did as well, which we're going to talk about. I always try to keep him in the loop and people mention him. And I was like, I've always wanted to see you do a class with Corey. So I'd always mention it to him. And when you passed along your number to me and asked me, I was like, oh, nah, this is my time to shine. So I'm so glad that you guys got to do that. And Corey sent me I was just like, how was Steve's class? Like, let me know. And he sent me like, this was the greatest thing. And like, it's worth all the money. And I was like, hey, I'm so happy, man. Yeah.
Oh, thank you again for that. Yeah, he's a genius and one of my all-time heroes. They say don't meet your heroes, but if you get a chance to meet Corey Burton,
please
joy. Oh, what an amazing human being. Yeah.
They should say don't meet your heroes unless they're in the voice acting industry. They meet them all the time. Meet them all the time. You know?
He's so generous too. He, with his time and going into sensitive subjects too. We talked about neurodiversity and neurodivergence, sorry. And he was diagnosed late in life with Asperger's, and he has been able to create such amazing things when so many people who are diagnosed with anywhere on the spectrum struggle so much, and people just want to beat them down and don't believe in the genius of neurodivergence. And oh my God, what an inspiring human. It just made me so happy to get to speak to him and talk about everything that he's been able to accomplish. When some people call it, they call it people names and not in a pleasant way very often. And I have just grown such a deep respect for everyone at every point on the spectrum, going to conventions all over the world. And I just, the most brilliant people I've ever met, brilliant, creative minds and focus that I could only aspire to and never achieve.
Read you both. But that was the first thing I wanted to talk to Corey about was he doesn't shy away from that.
Mm-mm.
And I'm really happy about that because, like you said, there's a whole stigma about that, and people saying all types of crazy stuff. You know, this whole recent thing with Kanye West, people keep saying, you know, he's bipolar and saying all this stuff and labeling him with these like disabilities and stuff, and people who are actually affected with that stuff and neurodivergency has come out and said like, you don't understand what this is, you know? And I just want more people to know about that. You know, like you said, I know so many people who are on the spectrum or have neurodivergent things going on. So I just want people to, I don't know, we're living in an interesting world, and it's, yeah, we're so much to talk about, but we live in such an interesting world. And I want the main thing for people to do is just be kind, right? Because Corey, phenomenal. All the people you've met at conventions who are on the spectrum, phenomenal people. So sweet, so loving, so open, so kind. Like the people I know that have these things are some of the nicest people I know. And they're just living their lives, just want to be happy. And it's just such a shame that people create words to mock and demean them, you know?
They have no idea the genius they're in the presence of most of the time. It's astonishing. You give a person a chance who is somewhere on the spectrum and they will just blossom. It's incredible. It's superpowers. That's what I've been calling it for years. It's a superpower. So,
you know, Corey Burton, Billy West as well, you know, Billy, like we can God. Like I love Billy West so much. I watch his interviews all the time because he's just on the money, man. Like, but you know, he's even been open and he's like, I can't tie my shoes because of it. You know, there is things that come with it as well, but the brilliance that we see on display by these gentlemen is like, I mean, like Corey Burton has been the voice of Captain Hook for like ever, like since the original voice of Captain Hook passed away, he's been doing it. And then let's not even talk about all the stuff he's done for the Star Wars universe and
Cad Bane and everything.
Cad Bane and Zero the Hutt and how they're all so different. You know, completely. I admire the voice acting industry so much because of that simple fact, you know. And to just flip that praise on you a little bit is like, I was looking through your resume and there are tons of voices where I'm like, I'm usually pretty good at detecting when it's you because I'm like, you have this like rumble in your voice. I'm like, that's Steve. But there's a lot of the times where you catch me up. Like, I didn't know you did Killer Croc. I didn't know you were Bata Ray Bill. I was like, that's not what? That's Baraka. When you told me that you do Baraka beside it, like killing your voice, but that is just pure you. I was like, what the? You're insane. That's crazy.
It hurts. Sometimes it's not worth it. Baraka is effy. Don't do it. It's terrible. It's just terrible. It hurts. But it's worth it. I guess it's worth it if it comes out good.
Especially with this recent game. I know we kind of talked about this a little bit at MomoCon, how you're not tapped into the games like that and knowing the storylines and stuff.
No idea.
Man, the voice, the path that Baraka went on for Mortal Kombat 1 is so emotional because in this game, they made his disease. They made what he has a disease. It's not like he was born that way. And he just has so many lines where he's like, you know, he talks to Liu Kang because like Liu Kang is like the god of this universe in the game. And he's like, you know, why did you do this to me? Like, I hate you and like all this stuff. And people make fun. I was just like, I felt so sad because like for years I was like, Baraka's just like this ugly guy with spikes. And now they gave him like a tragic backstory. Like he didn't ask for this. And there's a whole group of people who have this disease. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. I'm so sorry, Baraka. I love you. There's so much stuff you've done since we've last spoken. I want to transition into Star Wars. Dude, hold on. Let me set the scene for you. Let me paint the picture, right? I'm watching Mandalorian and I'm seeing the scene. I'm watching it. I'm like, okay, people are hyping up this episode a lot. I'm like, okay, what's going on? I see, I see this huge character, and I'm like, he looks familiar. And then you started speaking. I'm like, that's not Zeb. And then I looked at the credits, and it's Zeb. I'm like, no way, dude. Congratulations,
Thank
man.
you.
Like, I'm always frustrated when characters who are introduced on like the smaller screen in animation and video games, when they're brought over to like a live action format or like a bigger budget, the person that helped bring the characters to life often is like left out, or they're like reduced to a cameo role. With Lucasfilm, though, like Corey came back for Cad Bane and you came back for Zeb, dude. That's crazy. What were the conversations like to bring Zeb to live action? Or like, do you remember where you were when they talked about bringing him over to The Mandalorian? Or how that?
Well, early on when we were just finishing up Rebels, Dave was saying that he's going to be going into, Dave Filoni was going to be going into more live action stuff. And I said, please bring Zeb along. And he goes, oh no, Steve, that would be way too expensive. It's that kind of animation is just too much. And we're probably, don't get your hopes up. And it's the typical thing. And he was being pragmatic. And after we actually recorded the thing, Dave said, well, don't get too excited. It's very expensive. He probably won't show up ever again, but there you go. And, Jon Favreau, I was, actually part of this process. I can't say anything more than that, other than he was part of this process for Mandalorian. I'm still not allowed to talk about how we recorded it, by the way, because I think they're going to be doing some behind the scenes stuff eventually. But basically he had no idea who I was or who the character was. And then he goes, I don't know anything about this, but apparently people really like this character. So cool. Here's a couple lines. And I went, okay. And it was like that simple. That's all the prep I got for this thing. And that's literally all I'm allowed to say other than that about it. But to see how beautifully they animated him and brought him to life on the screen, and it was just seamless. It was like an 8-year-old Star Wars fan's squee dream. I think I squeed like an 8-year-old when I saw it on camera. And you never know what's going to make it to the final mix either, as we recorded quite a few times for that little scene. And tons of takes too, so I didn't know which takes they were going to use or if they were going to use any of it. And then I thought, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, I'm just grateful to have gotten to do anything in the Star Wars universe. I'm so grateful for all the time. So yeah, I'm just super grateful, dude. And it serves the story, and the fans seem to really like it too. So thank you everybody for putting up with me in live action. I appreciate it,
dude. I just remember all the emotions I was feeling as a Star Wars fan and as someone who knows you personally. Like, I was feeling so much in that moment. It kind of goes back to when Book of Boba Fett came out.
Oh yeah.
Corey texted me and he was like, Josh, there's a surprise in this episode for me. I was like, if this is what I think this is, I'm going to scream at you. This is not what I think it is. And lo and behold, it is what it is. And I'm just so happy to see you guys come over. I'm so happy that Dave is bringing a lot of these guys over. Like we're seeing with Ahsoka and, tons of other characters I'm sure are on the way. Like even characters from the comic books are starting to appear, which I think is really cool, just expanding the Star Wars universe. And the cool thing about Star Wars is like a lot of the current stuff, it's all canon. All of it happened. Like all the games, all the shows, all the books, like it all happened. So all that history that you have with these characters transitions over. Like when we see Zeb and Mandalorian, everything that happened in Rebels happened, like that is that Zeb. And I'm so excited to see where they go with this.
Me too.
Because I kind of threw a wrench in my plans because you said you can't talk about recording for it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I have to honor that.
Absolutely, 100%. I want you in everything for forever. I'm not trying to ruin your gig. It's okay. Don't apologize for none of that.
Thank you.
It's okay. Of course. But of course, we did hear that from D23 that Zeb will be in the Mandalorian and Grogu film, which is great. I'm excited to see that. But besides being in the Mandalorian, you've been in Bad Batch and Tales of the Empire. You've been in a lot of those
Yeah.
things, and I'm so curious. You also in. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're in Resistance as well, right?
Yes.
Okay, you played. Who did you play?
I don't remember. I've never seen it, so sorry. I honestly don't remember. I could look it up, I guess.
I think you play like a few stormtroopers again. You always play the stormtrooper.
I always play stormtroopers. Yeah, I'm always stormtrooper number 3, no matter what number it's listed as. But
Yeah.
that's sort of an old running joke.
Even
But yeah.
in Solo, you did a stormtrooper, I believe.
Several. Yeah, Solo. They gave me some good lines too. Yes. Was that Solo? Kill him slower. I was one of those guys when Solo was the one where Chewie was throwing the pit, right?
Yes.
Just getting good.
You killed him too fast.
Yeah, kill him slower.
Yeah. So I was one of the 2 guys. It was me and D. We were the 2 stormtroopers.
I thought that was Yuri.
Oh, it was Yuri. I'm sorry. That was Yuri. D and I have done so many things together too. That's
right.
It was me and Yuri up there, and we threw Chewie in the pit. And so I got to have a couple lines there. But yeah, Solo, Rise of Skywalker, and God, what was the other one? There were 3 Star Wars movies that I got to work on. So
did you do Rogue One?
Rogue One was the other one. Tons of troopers on that, sand troopers, and lots of aliens, lots of creatures and stuff. So yeah, and speaking lots of different languages too. Got to speak some Huttese and Jawa'ese and lots of different things. And I actually have charts of pronunciations for things in different Star Wars languages too. Aqualish also.
Do you have it like right on you?
I don't have that here. No, it's deep in my computer. I haven't done that in a long time. But I used to do, when I worked on the movies, I would always try to prepare because they would say you're going to be speaking some of these languages. So if you have a few words, or here's a few words to try to start wrapping your mouth around that we're going to be throwing you. So I tried to do that. And I also did some fan films, some Star Wars fan films, where I had to speak full monologues in a different language, and some as a droid, some as there were quite a few things that I did. And so because I was a droid in this one particular one, I ended up wanting to combine the languages. They didn't want one pure language. So I took a little bit of Aqualish, a little bit of Jawa'ese, and a little bit of Huttese, and I put it all into one thing and just made up some stuff because they didn't have the budget to write it. So it's in there. It's Star Wars. What was it? Star Wars story.
Hold on, now I'm curious.
Yeah,
Is it Star Wars a droid story? Is that what it's called?
It's something like that. Yeah. Oh man, I should have had that prepared. I didn't even think that would come up. One was called, I think, like Sands of Time, and the other one was it's some of Logic's people, the who put this together.
Love that.
Yeah. So
here we go. Steve Blum contributed to several Star Wars fan films, including Droids in Distress, Fight or Flight, Rise of the Old Masters, and Breaking Ranks. He also worked on the 2019 short Birth of a Monster, a Star Wars story.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the guys behind that, Alec Bryan. Yeah. God, forgive me if I screwed that up. I'm going to look it up right now because I haven't talked to you so long. Alec Eskander. Sorry. I know it's about 6 different Alex. Alec Eskander is, he's one of Logic's film producers, and I worked with him on some of his music videos. And so he got together with a bunch of his buddies, and there were a few people from Logic's camp too who worked on the cinematography for them. So they're beautifully shot and on a shoestring budget, and they're really fun. And they're these origin stories of some of our favorite characters from Star Wars. So if you guys haven't seen those, check them out. Yeah, Birth of a Monster was the first one. Then we did another one, Sands of Fate or Sands of something.
This is so interesting because now I'm looking at everything. Oh my goodness. You've done so much. It's so overwhelming. Like even making this graphic, I was like, I'm forgetting like at least 10 of your most popular characters, or like it's just or like writing questions is like, hold on, I want to talk about this, I want to talk about that. Thank God we did a part 1.
Yeah.
Because we didn't do a part 2. Part 1, I'd be finished.
This is all gravy now. Yeah.
Well, it's for I always want to just put on the best display, and I always want to put my best foot forward for anyone, whether it's your first time, your second time, your third time. We're going all out every single time. I don't care, But I want to go back to talking about Bad Batch. I was curious because Dave, I don't believe Dave worked on Bad Batch, right? I don't think. Did you work with him on that? Do you remember?
I don't remember if I worked on him directly, but Dave was
Okay.
overseeing everything.
Yeah, Dave of
So,
course is overseeing him. Yes.
Yeah, he's always in the background. I think he did show up for some of the recording of that. I don't remember. I didn't do that many episodes of it. So,
you played that bounty hunter character with the head, and then a few other like citizens and stuff on that island.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I was just excited to get to work on it. It was awesome.
And that show was, dude, D. Bradley Baker on that show is a monster.
Yeah,
like
he is.
actually, like to be able to play 5 characters and make them all sound distinct and also make them different character wise is a skill that I could only I don't know how y'all do it. One day.
He's a genius. He's an absolute genius, and just one of the best people I've ever known too. He's humble and absolutely brilliant, and such a superstar, and just one of the biggest unsung superheroes in our industry. I just love him. He's my brother. I love D, and I'm lucky enough that they pair us up together a lot for animation. They like the sound of our voices together. So I'm really lucky that I've gotten to know him as well as I have. But man, yeah, I miss him. I actually really miss him. We used to work together all the time. I hardly ever see him anymore.
I'm curious with that because voice acting and how you guys record has changed a lot due to COVID. But you're different because you're like in a whole different other state. Like you can't like just travel around like that. So how do you feel about that? Like, do you miss recording with people? Do you ever have like, damn, I wish I was doing this with such and such, or like, I don't know, how do you balance that feeling?
Well, here's the thing. For years and years and years, I got to go into these rooms and I got to get to know everybody. That's how I was able to get so many amazing teachers in my classes, because I actually worked with these people for so many years in the booth. There's nothing like that. There's nothing like working in a room with somebody and playing off of their energy, and it changes the alchemy in the room too. Even if the writing is, mediocre, some really good actors can come in and just make it gold. It's amazing to see how that magic happens. So I made lifetime relationships in that room, so that when I did come here, I could maintain those relationships. And often I'm still working on quite a few shows where we work as a cast, and they'll have 4 or 5 of us at the same time. We're just on Zoom instead of being in the same room. And so I still get that same feeling, and I've been working alone in a room long enough. I started in anime, so I started alone. So I'm very comfortable with that. The other thing that balances it for me is I don't have to spend 5 hours in the car every day, going from session to session or auditioning. I can do everything from here. So that to me is the biggest payoff of all. I still get to see my friends at conventions. So that's why one of the reasons I do so many conventions. I see everybody at the conventions. I do get to see them on Zoom here. And I can go swimming with my dog and come in here dripping wet. You have no idea if I'm even wearing pants right now. And I can do a full 4 broadcast session and then go back outside and play with my dog again. I never could do anything like that when I was living in LA. So that's the balance for me. And getting older now, the quality of life is everything for me. So I was killing myself, honestly. I was working too much back in the day. And, adding 4 or 5 hours of driving to all of the sessions that I was doing just made them sometimes 100-hour weeks. And, in this business, we're auditioning 7 days a week too. So there's never any downtime, really. I feel like I'm always on call. And here I can finally breathe a little bit and make my own schedule. And I still work really hard and really long hours, but it's on my own terms. If I'm really not feeling it, I just go and take a nap, so... it's good. Or I go swim outside, or I go scuba. Yesterday I went scuba diving. I canceled my whole day and went scuba diving with my brother. It was amazing, and one of my best friends here. So it's quality of life for me at this point. And I feel like after over 3 decades of this, I've finally earned that ability to do this in this way. And I'm actually going to try to slow down even more, just because I want to enjoy what we've created here. We risked everything, we sold everything to be here, and I really want to enjoy this island. It's an amazing place to live.
So with that being said, do you ever see a future with you retiring from the business? Is that okay?
No. I will, at some point, I will close the school, just because it is insanely difficult to run it, super expensive. I've got a lot of people on payroll, and I haven't made money in the school in 3 years. So in fact, I've invested more money into it. I'm actually upside down. But I want to fulfill my commitment to the students, and I feel like we tapped into something really deep, and the information that we're able to pass on it's gold. It was nothing like that was available when we were coming up, when most of us were coming up. So no matter what I do with the school, I'm going to make sure, if I do transfer that over at some point, I'll make sure it's in good hands, and I'll hopefully still have some input into it, so that I can make sure that the mission statement stays true, and about integrity, and about keeping people away from predators, and keeping people on a really good path with good, useful information, because this business is so predatory. And that's the thing that's really kept me going. I could have closed this years ago, and I would have been financially a lot better off, but I just felt it was my responsibility after all these years to give something back in this way. And I do have connection to all of these genius superstars that I can bring in, pick their brains, and put really good, useful information out there every month. So that's the one area that I will probably cut back on. And conventions, I've cut in half. I was doing 30 cities a year. Now I'm down to about 14 or 15 cities a year, just because it's hard to travel from here. And voiceover work, I will probably do less screaming stuff. And I will say no once in a while. Right, for my whole career, I've said yes to everything, pretty much. I'm a whore, and you got to pay the bills. And I'm not one of those guys that got one of those giant jobs that gave them residuals for life. Every single job is its own entity, and I get fired every day. So mine has been a quantity kind of existence, where I just did crap loads of video games that don't pay residuals, but it was enough to sustain me all these years by volume alone. So I will at some point slow that down too, and not take jobs that I know are going to be so difficult, like Baraka, that kind of thing. I probably won't do much of that anymore after the next couple of years, just because it is so awful on the throat and on the instrument. But yeah, I want to do other things too. I have all those guitars in the other room. I used to play in bands years ago, and I'd love to pick the instruments up again and start playing again. And I've got a bunch of songs that I've written. I'd love to record them. I've got some gear in here that I haven't even unpacked since I moved in, and I'd really like to try it, learn how to do a looping station. I've never tried that before. And maybe just do some volunteer work here around the island to help local kids start working on their skill sets for voiceover and for life. Do a little bit of life coaching, that kind of stuff here. So that's kind of where I'm going to go. But in terms of voiceover, I will do that till the day I drop. I just built a whole studio here. I got to make use of it, right? I looked up this other show. It was called Star Wars Sands of Fate: A Star Wars Story, and Alec Eskander was the main writer, and he was one of Logic's producers, and also Nick Mahar, who is Logic's cinematographer for all of his music videos, and he shoots him live on his concert tours too. Genius guy. He's so brilliant. So he was a cinematographer on this thing too. So it looks amazing. It looks so authentic. And there's a guy named Timothy Martin who is a prop master and storyteller too, and he was one of the story writers on this too. So yeah, if you guys get a chance, look up Birth of a Monster and Sands of Fate, and they're really fun. They're just these stories about characters that you know and love, and their backstories, and very unlikely characters too. So I won't say anything more about that in case you haven't seen them yet, but really cool. It was really fun to get to work on those things too.
I'll definitely check those out. That's amazing. What you said about where you see yourself headed in the future. That also makes me just like, I don't know. I'm kind of in that place right now too, where I'm thinking about a lot. I posted this on my Instagram account, but I'm not getting any new interviews. Like, you're the first interview I've gotten in a long time, and it's just, this is something that means so much to me.
Mhm.
I get so much out of this, but I feel like I don't know if I'm doing something wrong with my page, or like if I'm like I've gone clean shaven, if you couldn't tell.
Mhm.
I had no beard. And the reason I did was because I had a conversation with Corey Burton, and he was talking to me about what I did that attracted him to my platform. And it was the way I dressed, my youthful look, and a bunch of other things. And I'm just gonna be trying a bunch of things because I don't know. This isn't obviously this. Sorry to be talking about me. I apologize, but
That's
it's
all
just
good.
yeah. There's just a lot I'm thinking about. A lot. I just got an agency. I'm trying to audition more, and
Mhm.
I'm going back to school soon. And unfortunately, I'm currently unemployed because my warehouse job felt the need to lay us off. So like, there's like so much stuff going on in my life right now that is making me. Of course, my mom's got in a car accident. Like, there's like a lot I'm thinking about right now, and how I want to move forward, and what I want to do, and what truly matters to me. When you were talking about music, that speaks to me so much because music is my second love.
Mhm.
I have a guitar here. I'm actually about to get, Chester Bennington from Linkin Park.
Yeah. I don't
I'm
know
a,
him, but I know of him for sure.
no of him. All right. I'm about to get his actual guitar because his son is giving it to me, and he wants me to learn to.
What?
Yeah, I'm getting it. There's a picture of him holding it. It's the coolest thing, and I'm getting that actual guitar because his son wants me to make music with him. And
Amazing.
because we've been talking about making music for such a long time, and he was like, I have so many guitars, and I know how much the band means to you. Obviously, I have a Linkin Park poster up, and
Mhm.
he's giving me his guitar, and I want to get into drumming because drummers are some of my favorite musicians of all time.
Mhm.
There's so much I want to get into, but there's also so much amount of time. And, of course, the world is looking very crazy right now. So, like, trying to balance that as well. So, you just saying that really, really spoke to something I'm going through. So I'm happy to see you happy. There we go. I'm very happy to see you're happy.
Oh,
You
thanks, dude.
talked about so much that you've gone through, and being bullied for your weight, and that one story you told of having a gun pulled on you. Like, you've just been through so much stuff, and it's just inspiring to see what you've built from all of that,
Mm. Mhm.
and for me, especially with the things I've been through, it's just it's very I'm sorry, I'm getting choked up a bit. It's very awesome to see, and I'm very happy to discuss a lot of that with you today. Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to add one little quick thing, just from my experience, my own personal experience, that as I look back at those times that were either confusing or, the doldrums or the low part of the ride on the roller coaster, I look back at those times where I thought there was no hope, and I really thought I wasn't, cut out for this or whatever, because it was such a struggle for so many years, decades. But I look back on those times now, and I can identify specific moments in time where I made a change. I made a shift in the darkest places. And that was the biggest blessing of going through that, because there's this sense of gratitude now in my, adult years, of every moment of that becoming a lesson. And so if you can compartmentalize it enough, just know that there's something really special happening for you right now. You are going through a transition, and all of us do. And it seems like everything is just flying, and then everything shuts down, and then everything just picks up again. But part of that is, I think, part of it is visioning. So you got to keep visioning. I don't know if you believe in vision boards or any of that kind of stuff.
Oh no, I do. My mom has one. I have one.
Oh,
I journal all the time. I meditate. Yeah, I do all that stuff. Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought that was crap, honestly, but I did it because I was desperate. And I had somebody in my life at the time who just said, just do this. It's all energy. Life is all energy. So just do this, put it out in the universe. It might take a while, but the universe will answer at some point. Just be very, very specific about what you want. And so I started those lists and journals and meditation and vision boards. And after the first year or so, things started happening, but they weren't happening the way I expected. I went, oh crap, I got to get a lot more specific about what I want. And as I look back at some of those things now, I've ticked most of those things off without even realizing it 30 years later after doing that stuff. So, if you can embrace this time and just see it as an opening for new possibility. Because like you said, you shaved your beard. Now you're open for who knows what. You're getting a guitar from Linkin Park. I mean, oh my God. That's like a totem from the gods right there.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to see where you go with this, because I met you really early on in this, and
You met me when I was 18. I am now about to be 23.
Wow, dude. Yeah. and your enthusiasm was just infectious, and people want to feel good. And I think, and especially in the world today, there's so much hate and anger, and that's the easy thing to do, is just to spill that kind of shit, if I can say that on your...
Oh yeah, go ahead. No.
Okay, yeah, that kind of shit all over everybody. It's so easy to hate because you don't have to back it up with anything. But, if you're trying to do something really good in the world, that's where the hard work is, but that's where the juice is. It's so gratifying and so worthwhile. And if you tap into that part of people that just want to be happy, everybody should. I hope everybody seeks joy. You're a joy bubble, dude. You're just I love that about you. And that's why I'm here today. I love your energy, and I love your perspective on the world, and you just want to lift everybody up. And
100%.
There aren't enough of us out there doing that. So I appreciate you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you as well. And I appreciate everyone out there who is trying to work in their community and really trying to, like you said, lift people up during such a crazy time. I mean, every time I read the news, I'm just like, what timeline am I in? Like, there's no way what is happening. Like, we're getting rid of DEI programs and billionaires who we didn't even vote for have control of the government, and it's just like so insane. There's so much crazy stuff happening, and there's so much hate out there. And like you said, my only thing I would tell people or tell everyone is to please find that joy, keep that hope, and to keep fighting for what matters. I always said this, but what matters the most in life is love. Like, I'm a very emotional person. I'm so emotional, it's crazy. Like when I love someone, like platonically or from a relationship standpoint, like I love that person. And that's where like some of my problems have come in as well, is like I love that person so much. Sometimes I don't see the downsides and flaws and such like that. That's happened to us. That's always gonna happen. It happens. Of course. It's life. But yeah, man, just protect that love, protect that joy. The reason I love doing this, and I love speaking to fantastic people like you or Yuri or Corey or the many other hundreds of people I've spoken to, is for joy and perspective. When I speak to you, I mean this literally. I'm speaking to my childhood. Like my childhood is talking back to me. It's so amazing. Like, sorry, I hit the mic. Oh, it's so amazing. And to see where I've come from all the way from 4 years ago to now, I just can't believe it. I've been able to do graphic designs for some actors. I got an agency. I'm about to get into music, and I'm about to go back to school and see where school takes me, and there's just so many possibilities for my life to go in. That's such an exciting thing about life, is possibility. I know when you started this journey some odd years ago, you didn't think you'd be the voice of Wolverine for 20 years or Green Goblin and all this stuff, or that you'd be able to have these characters and then some, right? Like, this isn't even 800 acting credits to your name. That's not even counting all the stuff you've done. There's probably tons of other stuff that IMDb doesn't even have that you're like, well, actually I did this, or maybe some roles that you've gone uncredited for that's not there.
Hundreds.
Want to talk about Transformers a little bit now, but that's another one where I was so shocked when you told me you did.
Starscream is alive and well. Thank you.
I love that, dude. I love that. I love Transformers so much. And because I got to see you like a week after Transformers 1 came out, or the week of it came out,
Mhm.
I got to talk to you. I was like, oh, I just saw Transformers 1 is so good. You're like, hey, I did like a bunch of temp. I was like, what? And then a few months I think it was like 2 months after that, your temp work started to get released, and I started to see you do Megatron and Alpha Trion. Yo, I ain't gonna lie, Paramount, you have to fight me because your Alpha Trion, stop it. Stop it. That was so good. I love
Thank
your
you.
Alpha Trion.
Thank
And
you.
no offense to Lawrence Fishburne, but you just add this there's this elderly quality you added to him. He was a broken down older warrior, and
Yeah.
you just had that quality really locked down for him. And I
Oh.
really wish you would have gotten to do him, but I know
Yeah, but it's
temp work.
Lawrence Fishburne. If it oh my god, if I don't get to do a role that is taken over by Lawrence Fishburne, I'm good, dude. Just to be able to be breathed in the same sentence as him, I love that guy, and I thought he did a great job. Yeah, I knew it was temp going in. I didn't know what characters would stick, but I knew it was temp going in. They didn't tell me who hardly anybody was that was gonna be coming in and doing those. But when I heard it was him, it was like, "Oh, no, I'm good. I'm good." I
I'm
love
curious about temp work. How does that work? How do you approach that work? Because with temp work, you're knowing that, hey, 9 times out of 10, you're
Yeah.
not going to be in the final product. So, how do you approach roles like that mentally? And also, how do you even get roles like that?
I don't know how I got it. I auditioned for it actually through my agent, and they just wanted a utility player, somebody that could come in and do a bunch of different things. And they told me from the very outset that it was going to be temp. It was going to be for a big movie. And so I thought, well, hopefully Starscream will show up and I'll get to do Starscream. That would be amazing. But if he doesn't, I still get to work on this. It's fun. It's cool. And they paid me a decent rate for it. It's a good rate. But I went in playing each one of those characters as though it would be the final thing. I sunk my teeth into them. I did my research on them, and I really dug in and tried to bring them to life as best I possibly could because I knew the animators were going to be working from that. So I think all of the storyboards and stuff like that was based on the stuff that I was doing, the animatics and stuff that the other actors ultimately worked to. So whether I was going to be the final guy or not, like I do with all auditions, I always tell my students the audition is the job. So the temp work is the job. That was what I was hired for, and I took it very seriously. A lot of people just kind of throw away temp stuff when they get it because they figure, well, it's not going to be me anyway. I'm just going to do what I got to do and leave the studio. Please don't do that, guys. If you ever have the opportunity to do temp work, it could lead to something else too. So you never know. They might like you better than the celebrity who, they can't get, and ultimately you make it into that project. But I just took every single one of those as seriously as though it was going to go to print and be in that film. And I enjoyed it so much because I love Transformers and I love the storyline. I love the writing in that film. It was so good that for me as a fan, it was just so much fun to go into every session. We worked on it for like 8 months. I did tons of sessions. I think I must have done 12, 13, 14 sessions on that. And they would rewrite the lines for all these characters that I would never ultimately end up voicing. And I would just redo them and redo them and redo them for especially the main two characters. But yeah, I played most of the major characters in temp for that. And graciously, they gave me a couple little things that stuck. And I was just happy to be part of it.
You're the guard in the beginning, and of course, the racing announcer. I love that voice.
Yes. The Iacon 5000 or whatever it was. Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. Did you record that in your booth here?
Right here in this booth. Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
Sick.
Yeah, that was one of my first big projects in this booth. So
nice.
Yeah, the temp work was starting. God, I can't remember. I think I might have been in my other booth when it started before I moved into this place. But that was one of the very first things I did when we got this booth finished. So I was super excited to, kind of kick things off with that. Break the champagne bottle in here.
Yeah.
Break the bottle full of Energon.
Well, this year is also big for you in terms of Transformers because Transformers Prime celebrates its 15th anniversary this year, dude.
Wow. That's amazing.
That is amazing. One of my, I remember when the show premiered, and me and my mom, because she introduced me to Transformers, she loved the figures and stuff growing up, and we sat down watching it together. And it's just so crazy where that storyline went with all those characters, and also how Starscream was literally like the main guy for like the few episodes. One of my favorite lines you deliver is when Starscream finds Megatron, and he's like, now stay dead, and he kicks him, and then Shockwave, he's like, damn man, not Shockwave, Soundwave, he's like, damn man, you're ruining my plan here, but yes, here's Megatron, come get him if you want him.
Oh god, yeah.
And
That was
also to find out that you guys are as much of a fan as Peter Cullen's Optimus Prime as us, beautiful. I love that. People don't give Peter, I don't think Peter gets enough credit for what he like made, man. Like Optimus Prime is probably one of the most iconic roles in fictional history just because of his voice. Same thing with like Kevin Conroy, God rest his soul. Like these are people who have redefined what these characters have meant. You know, even for like Peter Cullen, like Optimus Prime is an original character. Like there was no such thing as Optimus Prime from a comic. I mean, obviously there was the figures, but we're not counting those. This is an original character, and now he's one of the most popular characters in pop culture history.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing what you could make with this. But I want to talk about Transformers Prime for a second. I've always been curious about this because I love the voice and tons of other fans, obviously, because you play Starscream in this, and then the games, and then of course you've recently come back in Earthspark, which is great. Has a whole new like G1 kind of look with the blue eyes and stuff. Love that. But I was curious, when you hear of all of these anniversaries, what does it remind you about the work you've been doing for so long, like 20 years of Wolverine or 15 years of Transformers Prime or however many years of Cowboy Bebop?
It's humbling. It makes me realize how old I actually am.
Yeah.
I was pretty young when I did a lot of those things comparatively. It's just humbling to me that I got to work on projects that resonated with people. And, you know, we go to conventions and people talk about how these shows and games have changed their lives in positive ways. And we never knew if anybody was going to consume this stuff. We just did it because it was a gig and we were happy to do it. And I love acting. And we put as much passion as we possibly could into it. And to see that there's this afterlife for things, I didn't even realize that it's 15 years for Transformers Prime. My God, the impact that show and so many of these other shows have had on people's lives. And luckily enough, my characters resonated with people to get them through really, really hard times. It just reminds me of how lucky I've been to be part of pop culture to the point where it's safe to love the things you love and you're not abused for it anymore, and it can actually help you through stuff. I never knew that was going to be, you know, a component to any of this until I started going to the conventions. So it makes me reflect a lot, and it's never lost on me. I go to conventions a lot, and sometimes I'll be signing for 300 people in a day, and 150 of them will tell me the same story. Basically, you know, you're the voice of my childhood. You got me through this. You got me through that. And I know so many other people are telling you this, and I'll say, this is why I'm here. This will never get old. And I will spend a moment with you, and I will look each person in the eye and just say thank you, because there's nothing better than knowing that you've done something that helps someone else. And I've always said that this is a service industry. And if what I'm doing continues to help lift people up, then I'm in the right place. So that's what it makes me think of when I hear things like that. 15 years for Transformers. Oh my God. Crazy. Crazy. Yeah, I'll tell you something that's really interesting. This morning I got a message from a guy who runs a Transformers convention overseas. And I was actually at this convention when I got the call for Zeb to come in and do the short, and I recorded it there in Birmingham, England. So he happened to text or email me this morning just asking if I'd be interested in coming back to the UK. So that was huge for full circle for me. Now I know why. That makes sense. I didn't realize it was 15 years. Yeah.
It's so cool, man. Real quick before I ask you this next question and pertaining to Starscream, what conventions do you have coming up? Do you have any? Because I was looking at your list and I saw you have one for Collecticon, I believe.
Yeah, I'll be in LA in 3 weeks for Collecticon Los Angeles, March 1st and March 2nd at the Convention Center. Yeah, I got a lot of conventions coming up. I'll be at NakaCon in Kansas a couple weeks later. Uh, wow, yeah, I got a whole bunch of stuff coming.
You
We haven't.
coming to the South?
I don't know. I gotta look. I'm looking at my calendar right now. I'm sure I'll be back in the South somewhere. I'll be coming to Boston, coming to Indianapolis, Dallas, Cleveland,
Yee.
Green Bay, um, Charlotte. So I'll be in Charlotte
Okay.
in August, it looks like. Or is that
Okay.
September? Yeah, August. First week of August, I'll be in Charlotte for
Okay.
Collecticon there.
Okay.
Maybe Sac Anime again. Maybe one in Florida. Oh, one in Mobile, Alabama, hopefully in September. We're still working out the details for that one. Yeah, so quite a few. I'll be all over the place. Yeah,
Nice.
Fort Worth. Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
Been seeing a lot of Marvel Rivals cast members announcing like a Streamly signing. Is that something you're doing as well?
I'd like to. The cast signings are weird for me. They've always felt a little disjointed. And because we're not doing it at the same time, it's usually kind of on the same day, and then people send in their stuff. It still feels like kind of an isolated thing. And I don't know if there's enough of a fan base just to do a Marvel specific thing. And I haven't done Streamly in a long time, so my agent has been talking to Streamly a little bit lately and just trying to work out some bugs because we had a few little issues working from here. So if we can work it out, I'd love to do more Streamlys. I enjoy doing those; they're really fun. But we have to figure out the right parameters for it. So I'm not sure if I'll be doing that particular cast signing.
Got you. Okay, cool. No, I was just interested because I'm seeing like a bunch. Like I think Yuri's doing one for, of course, Spider-Man. Fred's doing Hulk. Colin O'Shaughnessy. You know, all of them. A lot of them are coming out. Andrew Kashino's doing Hawkeye. So I was just curious.
Yeah.
I love. He's phenomenal. I love him in the game. But to go back to Transformers Prime, have you ever considered doing your like own rendition of the G1 like very high screaming Starscream like that, or is your version
like
pretty much
Lotta
yes, Chris Lotta, yes.
Yeah, well, Starscream, my version of Starscream, we did go into that range when he was under duress, and I kind of liked the fact that I was able to take him to the deeper layers also. It was mostly up in here for most of Chris Lotta's stuff, which I loved, and he set the pace for that. But there'll never be another Chris Lotta, so I don't want to emulate what he was doing to that degree. I feel like I honored him as best I could when we did get into the areas of duress. His voice was in my head, and I was thinking about it. And when I told his family about this, also that I love that, and I wanted to do my best to honor him. But to do an imitation of that at this point, I don't think I really want to do that. I kind of like where Starscream sat for me, especially in Prime, where he started out as someone who could be potentially very dangerous. And, his first scene is ripping out Cliffjumper's Spark. You didn't see much of that in the original G1. So I kind of like those layers where he is potentially very dangerous and volatile. You never know what he's going to do. And he's just a shit. So, yeah. So I don't know. I think I'm going to leave that where it lies, unless they ask me to do it. If they say, do this, I will say yes and be very grateful for it. I'll be here. But I don't know if they will. So we'll see.
Starscream is always about power in the show. He was always about power and wanting to be seen as the best. What do you believe Starscream represents about the Decepticons as a whole? Because he's always been a major part of Transformers lore and is always there, from Transformers animated to the movie. Starscream is always there by Megatron's side. So what do you think his personality and what he brings represents about the Decepticons as a whole?
I think my take on Starscream is always that he's been an opportunist, and that the Decepticons were probably the most welcoming for his brand of lunacy. That I equate him to people like J.D. Vance, for example, who will work for anyone that can further his his opportunistic ideals, and say anything and do anything and really not take any accountability for it. So I think that, if they embraced him on the other side, he would have done that too. if he felt that there was a better opening. I think just that evil component and the chaos, from the Decepticons made him feel like he was more able to further his personal goals. Yeah, and I think Starscream is and always has been out for himself, no matter what. I don't think he really has any allegiance to the Decepticons.
I agree. Yeah. I love that take. Very,
Yeah.
very great. One thing I love about the voice acting community is your guys' dedication to one another and your care for one another and making sure that you're not stepping on anyone's toes. So, of course, you took on the role of Starscream for the Transformers Dark of the Moon tie-in game. And, of course, in the films, Charlie Adler was doing Starscream in the films. Charlie... Let's not even talk about how great he is as a performer and as a voice director. Oh my God.
And as a human, he's gold. I love Charlie. Uncle Cha-Cha.
I love that.
That's what I call him, Uncle Cha-Cha.
I love that, man. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Hopefully I get to meet him one day. But did you ever get to have a conversation with Charlie about coming back to the game, or were you unaware, or do you know why he didn't come back for the movie tie-in game?
I don't know the specifics behind it. No, Charlie is he's Charlie. Charlie rubs some Charlie. People. Yeah, he rubs some people the wrong way sometimes because he always speaks the truth and he always is very, very open and vocal about it. And so I don't know if that was a component for why he didn't come back. He may just not have wanted to come back. When I took over Starscream for Transformers Prime, I contacted Charlie because he was doing the movies at the time. And I said, why are you not doing this? And I told my agent, I don't even want to read for it because you should be doing Starscream. You are Starscream. You're my favorite Starscream now. And he said, no, there's reasons. There's political reasons and whatever. So go make $1 million, which I didn't. But he was so supportive and loving and wonderful about that. I don't try to second guess what happens behind the scenes. And so it would just be conjecture at this point. You'd have to ask Charlie.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but I'm sure he had a good reason. Whatever it was, I'm sure it was a good reason. But one of my favorite directors of all time. Just a genius.
We're going to talk more about some of the directors you've worked with because, man, you've worked with a lot of great ones. Chris Zimmerman Salt. Am I saying it right? I'm
Chris
so
Zimmerman
sorry.
Salter, yeah.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, that's a lot of syllables.
Yeah, oh gosh. I gotta work on that.
It's all good.
Yeah, and then of course, Colette Sunderman and all those greats. We're gonna talk about them more as well. You did a really good job as Starscream. Of course, Fred came to do Megatron for that game as well. So you guys did a phenomenal job, and I'm glad that they did bring you back. And we're like, nah, let's use these two guys because, of course, Fred was doing Megatron for the games at the time, and you were in the games War for Cybertron, one of my favorite games of all time, because not only because of the lore but the gameplay mechanics and much other stuff. But War for Cybertron is an interesting case for you because not only did you get to play Barricade and Shockwave in the War for Cybertron game, you were also narrating the entire game for the player. So I'm curious, as a performer, how did being a narrator influence your performances, Barricade, or was that like two separate things?
It was two completely separate things. I didn't know what I was going to be doing until I got into that room. So I think I auditioned for Barricade. God, I don't even remember now. I might have auditioned.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, I might have auditioned for a couple of the characters, but I don't really remember how that came about. But when I was in the studio, they said, well, let's see what you do with this. And so I tried on the narrator shoes and it seemed to fit. So it was just one of those things where I was right place, right time. Could have been any of us, I think.
I understand. And
yeah.
I'm
sorry. I was just going to say, and then for Shockwave, I got to play Shockwave in that, and I thought it was really fun. But I said, why isn't Sobolov doing this? Dave Sobolov, who, did it in Transformers Prime. He's my favorite Shockwave of all time. Oh my God, what a voice. His voice, that's just the natural resonance there was so creepy and wonderful. And so I was just basically trying to, do a B-lister version of his work and grateful for it. But they said that they wanted me to do it because we had budget issues. So anytime that we come in for one character on a game, and especially a game that's scale for us scale players, they want us to do a minimum of 3 characters. So Shockwave was added on later on, and they just said, while you're here, would you please do that? Because otherwise we're going to have to pay him another full rate. And they couldn't really afford to do that. So I think that was part of the decision for it. And it wasn't a lot of lines either. So, but they do that all the time. I mean, Kevin Michael Richardson was doing some Marvel project, and he was there doing something else, and they gave him Wolverine. And I thought,
Black Panther, yeah, he did.
Amazing, yeah. And I've had fans say, "Well, weren't you upset?" And I said, "No, it's Kevin Michael Richardson. Are you kidding?
Hey, you can
love him. He can do anything he wants, and I will say yes." So
gosh, I'm currently doing a series on my channel for Black History Month, is highlighting a lot of Black talents and animators and such, and I'm very excited to do Kevin Michael Richardson's episode, because there's so much he's been in, there's so much he's done for the industry, like his range is out of this world. Like, he does Cleveland Brown Jr. and then the Joker and then Bulkhead, and it's like, oh my God, you're all over the place, dude. Chill out.
Another one of my favorites of all time, and one of the funniest humans I have ever known. They had to separate us when we were working together, because he would have us peeing our pants laughing. It was ridiculous, especially when him and DiMaggio would get together.
Oh man,
it was like, no, you have to separate them because we will not get anything done. It's just kind and sweet and generous and amazing. He hasn't come to do my classes though. Kevin, if you're watching this, please come and do my classes. I've been begging him for years.
I would love that. I would eat that up. Oh my gosh. You've been getting some sick guests, man. Yeah. Seriously. Like, you just did Courtney Taylor, right?
Courtney Taylor. Yeah.
There you go. Yes, amazing. Sir. Phenomenal. And
you want to scoop on who my next one is?
Yes.
We haven't announced it. We're announcing it next week. But for those of you who are here, our next one is going to be Aaron Douglas from Battlestar Galactica. So the Chief from Battlestar Galactica. Yeah.
Yo.
Our 100th episode. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Dude, what the heck, Steve? Congratulations, man.
Our 100th class, yeah. So I'm super excited for that. And I had never seen it. I'm just starting to watch it now. He's one of my dear friends. I've known him for years, but I've never watched it. So I'm actually watching it right now. And oh, wow, what a show. What a show. What an actor. He's amazing.
Have you ever met Katie Sackhoff? Did you work with her on Rebels?
I've worked opposite her on a lot of different projects, but never in the same room.
Damn it.
So I love her. She's amazing.
She's
Sick. I'd love to see you do like a class just talking, because she's great, and like her work as Boca. That's another one I forgot to talk about. She came to do her in live action. Like, dude, that's so sick. I love that about Lucasfilm. At least they have some loyalty to voice actors. Damn, like you're the companies. You pissing me off.
No, I know.
So, I'm so glad to. I'm so excited for that class, man. Hell yeah. But
congratulations on 100, dude. Yes.
Thank you.
Let's go.
I never thought we'd do this many. We were going to do like 20 or 30 classes and shut it down because I didn't think there was going to be that much more to talk about. But wow, interviewing these people, the wealth and depth of knowledge that they have and experience is so useful for the students, I think. So far beyond anything I could do on my own.
So. What does that satisfy in you besides just gaining all the knowledge from people you've worked with or have worked beside all these years?
Well, personally, I learn a lot. I learn a lot about myself, about my path in the business, the mistakes that I've made, and to see other people's mistakes. And it makes me feel a little bit better about myself because everybody has them, everybody's got a history, and it's never easy for anyone. And I think that there's such a big misconception that when you get to a certain point in your career that people think you've always been, famous or rich or whatever label they put on it. And they have no idea how hard it is for literally everyone, unless somebody hands you, a silver spoon somewhere, which most of us never got. So getting to talk to these people and hear about their struggles and the formative years that have made them who they are today. And they're all so grateful. Every single actor that I've brought in, and director and dialect coach, everyone that I've brought in my classes, the common thread is gratitude. And that goes so far, and it just reinforces my love of this craft, my love of our community as voice actors. and even makes me love my dear friends more because I've never had the opportunity to have conversations with them like this. And we see each other at conventions. For years ago, we saw each other in the break room when we're recording, but we've got like 5-minute snippets of time to talk to each other. And for me to get to actually have really lengthy conversations for a couple of hours in my classes is gold to me. I feel like I'm reestablishing connections with my dearest friends and family. People that I'm talking to in these classes are family to me. Courtney Taylor, she's my sister. I love her so much. All these people that I've brought in, they're family to me. And to actually hear about their struggles in the past and now. Everybody's still going through crap now with everything that's going on in the world, trying to navigate all this stuff, and to be able to be there for each other in this. We are community, and community is the only way we'll ever get through this, is by reestablishing those bonds of community and building them stronger than they've ever been. That's how we get through this. And the other side is going to be amazing. Once we get through this stuff, if we all stay alive, it's going to be amazing. So that's what it means to me, really. And learning so much about the craft, talking to people like Corey Burton and Fred Tatasciore and Tom Kenny and Clancy Brown and LeVar Burton, all these people that I've gotten to have these.
You're naming some heavyweights, dude. Come on.
They've come into my classes and they've been so generous with their time and their knowledge that just as a person, I've learned so much about how to navigate life besides the business. So that's, I think, what distinguishes us from a lot of other classes out there, is that we go into life lessons and life struggle on a very deep level, and we'll go there. If they want to talk about that, I will let them talk about that, and I will encourage it. And I think that so many of my students have connected with that, and it's whether they go into voiceover full time or not, it's going to help them navigate life. So that's the greatest thing that I've gotten out of all of this.
Talk about it, man. I think that's one of the greatest things, is that, that's my mission too, is to give people the platform to express all of that, all those nasty feelings or their wins. For me, I base a lot of this on just not only giving people their flowers, but also giving them a platform to feel heard and feel seen, and to be able to talk about some of their greatest triumphs and tragedies.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the greatest stories of all time will be our own lives and what
Mm-hmm.
we've been through and how we've overcome and how we've been at the low and then how we've been at the top. I'm sure there was a point in your life where you were like on the top of it. Even earlier when we were talking about how you were just working too much, and that's really inspiring and amazing. And I'm glad that we both get the same thing out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm friends with you and Fred and stuff, but for the most part, when I bring new people in, I don't know these people, and this is the first time we've talked in a minute too. So,
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning so much, and to learn about what you want to do, and you as you continue to work, and where you see yourself, like that stuff is just, it's priceless, and to be able to not only share that with myself, but my audience that I hope to continue to grow and cultivate over the years is like a gift. I get to tell some of the greatest stories with some of the greatest people, I was just talking to you guys, and I'm so glad that you feel the same way about this industry is so amazing. It's so crazy to find myself speaking to voice actors. I never imagined speaking to you guys. This originally started out just wanting to speak to musicians, but it was just so difficult because sometimes management can be a little understandable. They could be a little tough,
Yes.
tight grip on things, understandably. So you don't just want some rando just like asking, so what was it like playing a Batman for 2 seconds? And it's like you don't want that, so I get it. But voice actors have just been so kind and open to me, and I love that, and I take that mentality with me everywhere. When I'm auditioning, when I'm writing, when I'm interviewing, just be open and grateful to whatever comes of it. There's so many questions here that I'm sure we might not get to today, but I'm so happy for the conversation we've had thus far. I'm very happy where this has gone. I was so nervous because it's been so difficult, dude, to like get stuff done lately. I don't know what's happening in the universe or what's happening, but I was rushing to write some of your questions, but like just when you let go and let life do its thing, we're getting some great stuff right now.
Good.
Man. I'm telling you. Hey, look, right? The clip's gonna go crazy. I'm telling you that much. So I'm excited, man. Life comes with its own challenges and stuff. And I want to speak about this Transformers Reactivate. It was a recent game that was canceled. And I don't know if this is true or not, or if you can confirm this or not, but it was confirmed that you had worked on the game and a lot of other voice actors from. Oh, I ain't like that face.
Go ahead.
Okay. I heard like a lot of Transformers Prime voice actors came back. Like you did Starscream. There's some leaked voice clips of you doing Starscream. And then David came back as Shockwave. And apparently Peter Cullen and Frank Welker were coming back to do the characters. Do you remember doing that game? Can you talk about that? What happened?
Here's the thing. This is the first I've heard of this. Whenever we are recording, it's almost always under a pseudonym. We don't know the name of the actual game. So very well could be true that I recorded a bunch of stuff for that. Probably is true, but I have no idea what the name of it was when I was recording. I may not have even known that it was a game at the time. Honestly, they could have couched it some other way. So it is quite possible that I did that, but I honestly couldn't tell you. I really don't know. And most of the time I figure out that I am actually in the game once the game is released. And I have to ask after they've announced it, I have to ask my agent if I can talk about it. And then I have to go and look up clips of it just to see if it's really me. Cause I don't know. And I never assume anything. And quite often we record something and they will replace us with a celebrity too. So I never assume that what I record in the booth is going to make it to final print. And because we have to sign the NDAs anyway, we're not allowed to talk about it until they give us permission. And sometimes it's 6 months after a game is released that we're actually allowed to acknowledge that we're in it. So I'm in a project right now, an anime, a big anime that was leaked overseas. And they're starting to put up clips of some of our characters. And we just got a big notice yesterday. Don't talk about this thing. Yeah, it's out there. Yeah, people are talking about it, but you can't say it's you. And okay, I'll shut up. So 6 months from now, when it's released in the States here, then I'll get to talk about it, and they'll send me an official letter that says I'm allowed to. But other than that, we can't. We just can't. And they don't want us to know because some people are blabbermouths. So I'm really good at forgetting everything. I've got a sieve for a brain, so it doesn't matter.
Me and you both. Last Transformers question, and then I want to talk about one of my favorite characters of all time with you is, what is the difference between Starscream and Transformers Prime and Transformers Earthspark?
Well, Starscream wasn't quite as loosey-goosey in Earthspark. Because it's for kids, it's a younger audience, they wanted Starscream to be a little bit less abrasive, a little bit less dangerous. So it was more played, I think, for comedy or pushing the story forward than in Prime, where they really wanted me to suffer. They wanted me to scream. They wanted me to go to the Chrysalida territory occasionally, because it was shocking. It was really shocking. And he did get violent. He got very violent in Prime. So they had to pull back on that. But other than that, the essence of Starscream is still the same. Starscream is Starscream is Starscream. And I always try to play him as the same character. Just, the lines really dictate what I'm able to do with it. And I have to listen to my director and the producers and the writers and honor what they're doing, because I have no idea what their vision is. I've never even seen the show. So there are some actors that come in and say, well, my character would never say this. Well, how do you know? It's a different production team, and it's not your character. You didn't write it. So shut up. So that's
hold on. There's a little passion behind that. What's going on?
Well, that's the problem that I have with some celebrities. I mean, my wife, Mary Elizabeth McGlynn, is a director, and wonderful director, one of the best directors I've ever known. Besides the fact that she's the love of my life, she's absolutely incredible. But I've seen her suffer with some of these celebrities that will come in. She was working on a game last year, and this celebrity who shall not be named came in and said, well, I think that, my performance is setting the tone for this, and you have no idea what you're talking about. To the writers, he's saying this. You have no idea what you're talking about. I've established this character, and I think I know it better than you do. And
what the hell?
She's saying, well, according to the script, this is what we need the character to do. He's got to be, this is a really difficult situation he's in. It's a battle time situation here. And he's got to pitch this out above the noise so that everybody hears him. He goes, well, my character would never do that. And she goes, well, you got to do it. And he started calling her names and stomping his feet.
Oh, nah.
The biggest baby about it, and was cruel and misogynistic and awful. And all she's doing is trying to translate what the producers and the writers want for their version of this story. And so when somebody tells me to do something that I may not understand with a character, I'm going to say, okay, I'm just going to say, yes, I will do that. And because I am not the creator of that story, it's not my character. So if they wanted me to lighten things up a little bit or do things a little bit differently with Starscream for Earthspark, I say, yes, thank you for the job. So that's our job, is really to be of service to the story.
That's my problem. That's my problem right there. Now I'm finna get into. You got me excited. That's my problem with celebrity voice casting. One of many issues is that ego that, oh, well, I'm here, they're paying me some rate, they're doing this for me. And there's this entitlement. There's really this sense of entitlement. And then for them to have this entitlement and give a subpar performance on top of that, sit down. Yeah. For real.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot tell you how many times I've seen an animated project or something and a celebrity be in it. And I'm just like, wow, you suck. And I wonder what's your mentality going into this. Were you like Chris Rock, who said, oh, I just go into my pajamas and do. No, like, that's another thing. Like, so many people do not understand that voice acting really is a craft of its own. Yes, it's acting, but it's really a craft of its own. There's a lot of disciplines. There's a lot of levels to it. And for you to come in with like this, oh, I'm gonna just do my own voice and they're gonna pay me some odd millions of dollars. It's like, bro, I was watching the Super Mario movie and I was so disappointed by Chris Pratt's performance. I was like, why didn't y'all just get Charles? He's been doing the character since its inception. And people kept excusing it. We're like, oh, we don't want to hear him do let's go like 20. Like, do y'all not understand how voice acting works? You think Charles would come in to do Mario and play him like he's doing it for the games? Does that make sense?
Charles is a great actor. He could have nailed that.
And it's so crazy how many excuses out here for celebrity voice casting. It's like, because I know what goes into this craft. I do it. I audition. I listen. I learn. I'm very open to critiques because I want to get good at this craft. And it's like a lot of the times these celebrities come in, it's just their voice. They do a subpar performance and call it a day. And it's like with me and you, it's like, no, you're going to give a good performance or you're fired. A lot of times with these celebrities, it's like they're put there because of background politics or like, the producers really wanted them. So they really wanted to work. But a lot of the times, I don't know what it is, but a lot of the time celebrities just don't really transition over well to voice acting. And I don't know if it's like a mental thing they have. I don't know if it's just, I don't know, but they just don't transition over well. And it's like we keep seeing them being announced in these shows. I was Invincible season 3 just came out, and all of the casting was mainly celebrities. I mean, John DiMaggio got cast as this elephant guy, but like that character is probably going to be in the episode for like 2 seconds and then he'll like die or something. But these celebrity characters will like have arcs and different plot lines. And they can't articulate it the way a voice actor can, I just imagine if like you were in it or like even Tom Kenny got to play, these wacky, kooky characters. Like I could just imagine how you guys would bite into it.
Yeah.
But a celebrity can't really do it. And for them to have ego and for them to.
On top of that, that unfortunately that happens a lot these days. And I did work behind the scenes in sales for film for years. I worked for a film company and we did foreign sales, and we had to have celebrities in there to sell the foreign rights for it because the face sold tickets or they sold, units, whatever. And even though they were dubbed into another voice in their country, the face was still there. So but in animation, that should not make a difference, honestly. And it's either good or it's not. And the biggest problem that we had in our community is just what you were saying, is that they we'll bring in a lot of voice actors or a lot of on-camera celebrities, and they pay them extraordinary amounts of money for the same work that we do for, a scale fee. It's a good amount of money for us, but it's not the millions that they're making, or even the hundreds of thousands they're making for a single episode that they're just phoning in. And often we have to come in the background and redo all of their efforts and reactions because they can't or won't at our little scale price. So we have to stay humble in that moment, that, we still have to stay grateful, but it's sometimes hard to be grateful when I'm standing next to a guy who's, making $20,000 when I'm making $800 for the same amount of lines or less. And I have to go in and fix his stuff afterward. And he's got an ego about that. On top of that kills me. I can't stand it. But then you have actors who come in, like Transformers 1 is a great example. Steve Buscemi came in and did Starscream. And it was like, oh my God, he's great in this role. And he killed it. I thought he did a fantastic job. He invested himself fully in it. I feel like all the actors in that movie, though they were all big celebrities, did a fantastic performance. They earned that money. And yeah, some voice actors didn't get a chance to do that. But if they're going to go in and do a job and do it well, I'm all for it, because it raises all boats. It raises the standard for everybody else. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who are stunt casted. Casted is not a word, people. Stunt cast in roles that they do not deserve and they can't handle. And Mary was just directing something last week where they replaced someone with an original actor from an original incarnation of the show who killed it in the original incarnation. They brought in the producer's girlfriend or something to do it, who was an on-camera star, a TV star. And it was just flat and terrible and miscast completely. She had to redo the entire thing and nailed it in like 4 hours. All of these episodes that it took this person days to record, useless, thrown out, and they wasted all that money on that person. And that to me just kills it, because it kills the budget for paying the voice actors that they have to come in to replace them with too. So they say, well, we don't have any budget, so you have to do it for scale, and we need you to do 20 characters. And it's like, okay, I'm working, I'm grateful. So yeah, I got some energy on that because I've seen it firsthand, and I just feel like it's an abuse of the system.
Stuff like that got me feeling like Amon, for real. Yeah. Let's talk about Amon. Legend of Korra. What's so interesting about Amon is the older I've gotten, a little bit, that character resonates a little bit more with me than it did when I was a kid. Because as a kid, I'm like, you're evil, Amon, I hate you. And then you go back and you're like, he's speaking a little bit. I don't know. He's saying a little something,
Yeah. And he's all about equality. So
Amon is one of my favorite animated character roles of all time. And I'm not just saying that because you're here. I think the writing behind Amon is out of this world. The score is fantastic. The first season of Legend of Korra is chef's kiss. It is phenomenal. You and D. Bradley Baker as the Tarla. Yo, D. Bradley Baker is Tarla. Please.
Yeah. That
ending scene, we're going to talk about that, but that ending ripped. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I'm getting goosebumps right now, Steve. You can't see him, but I'm getting goosebumps just from thinking about that. I'm curious, when you first started recording for Amon and before knowing all the twists and what was to come, were you rooting for Amon in the first place? Or did you already know what was going to happen?
I didn't know anything. I came in like I do for most shows. I get one script. I have no idea where the arc is going. And what I try to do, especially when I'm playing villains, is to try to get into their head from their perspective, because they don't believe they're villains. Unless they do. Starscream might be an example of one who he's a bad seed. But most villain characters have a perspective where they feel like they're doing the right thing. They're doing it for the greater good or whatever. Amon was one of those characters. I came in for Amon with guns blazing. I was so excited to work on an Avatar project. I missed out on the first one. I never got to even audition for the first version of Avatar. So I was just excited to get to audition for it. And Andrea Romano was directing, who is one of the most legendary directors of all time. Mm-hmm. Besides my wife, she is my favorite of all time. And to get to work with her on a full series was just amazing, just before she retired. And I came in kind of with guns blazing for Amon, and the images that they showed me for him initially were that he was on stage, this big stentorian cult leader, basically. And so I came in with, this big voice, this big presentational kind of thing. And I thought, maybe behind the scenes, they'd have another version of him, and I'll just, tone that down, and I'll get to play with all the layers. And Andrea said, no. Amon is always in control. And he's got this mask on, so you can't really tell what's going on behind the mask, but Amon is always going to be here, unless he has to project to make sure that he stays alive in the moment, or that, he has to for that particular situation. But if he's got a microphone, he's going to stay right here, which I felt was so much more chilling and more authentic. And I stepped into those shoes with glee, man. I loved Amon. He was one of my favorite villains of all time. And ultimately, I didn't really see him as a villain. And so if I was rooting for him, I don't know, because once I'm in those shoes, I am that character. And so I'm just, trying to get my mission accomplished as that character. But later on, once I realized who he really was and his history with Tarlok and everything, I felt bad for the dude, honestly. And I kind of did root for him a little bit, because I felt like, all things being equal is sometimes a good thing. So,
and when we saw him take that big billionaire guy who's a bender, who's like abusing his workers and stuff, like that's a story that unfortunately will be timeless, just because of how power and greed and money works. People do take advantage of the lower class all the time and just grind them into the dirt. And I was so, as a kid, I'm like, wait, why are you beating this guy? But as an adult, I'm like, he needs to get a little bit more than his bending taken away. because he is abusing these people. And it's, I did find myself rooting for Amon a lot on rewatch. Do you think Amon could have been redeemed, or do you think he was too far gone and Tarlok was basically right in getting both of them?
I don't know. I felt like Amon's belief system was so strong that he really felt like he was doing the right thing. So to him, I don't know if there would be redemption in that. The only redemption would be in his relationship with Tarlok, and maybe revisiting parts of his life that he tried to shut down. So it might have changed his perspective a little bit, might have made him a little bit less aggressive as the bad guy, and maybe truly be able to pursue the notion of equality. But I think Amon is Amon, and I really felt like that was how he truly felt. He really believed that. We could use Amon's bloodbending. There's a few people I'd love to use that bloodbending on now, I'll tell you. Yeah.
Oh, God. Cold world.
This world right now needs quite a few more Amons, I think.
Yeah, man. I'm very happy with what you and Andrea created with this universe, with this character. And your voice is so iconic. I will never forget the line. There are two lines I won't forget. The one where he's like, he captures Core and is like, trust. He's like, he basically said, trust, I'm going to get you. That's basically what he said. I'm going to get you. Not now.
Destroy you. Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. And then my next favorite line is when he meets Tarlok in the cell and he's like, please, like, you're literally the only thing I have left. Like, and then, oh man, goosebumps.
Tarlok is the link to his humanity. So, yeah, which D has been several times in my career and my life.
What a wonderful man.
Yeah.
Another performer who, God, I would just love to pick his brain apart about things, especially that role. I feel like what you guys did as those two characters is so important for where we are in society now. There is this need for just burning this whole ship down, just getting rid of all of it. And it's so interesting to see how both of these characters got consumed by their demons. And Tarlok was basically like, you know what? I think this is our final journey. And go. And what's so crazy, someone put this in the comments, is that, Amon with his bloodbending basically knew his brother was about to kill both of them. And that's why he cries.
Yeah.
And your final line, oh my God, we were like, Noah talk. I almost forgot the sound of my own name.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, please don't do this. And then I see Tarla grab it. He's like, it'll just be like it was before. And then Amon starts crying. And I'm like, whoever, writers, y'all need it. Like, you need the money. So good.
Yeah, Mike and Brian created something really special there. D, that was one of the few shows. D and I have worked as brothers or partners on so many different projects. And that was one show that we actually got on the phone afterward and kind of had to have a moment of silence. Both of us were broken because we didn't know it was going to happen. And we got really attached to those characters, and especially going to that place with those characters, that hit home for both of us in a really profound way. So, yeah, man, if you're passionate about this work, you feel it when stuff like that happens.
Absolutely. Speaking about passionate, man, Wolverine, dude. 20 years of Wolverine. Can you, when I found out that X-Men Legends turned 20 years old last year, hold on. Wait. Is he getting what I think he is? Is he? Let me see him. Go ahead.
They always come out, baby. They're always here.
Go ahead.
It still hurts every single time they come out, but worth it, bub. No, I love Wolverine.
Wolverine's great, and it's so funny. I got to speak to Cal Dodd a few months ago.
Yeah,
and he was talking about meeting you and your guys' conversation. Can't wait to post that clip. It's so crazy what you guys satisfy for me as a Wolverine fan. Like, depending on the day, I could go, pick on who is my favorite. And it's so funny, your Wolverine is so many people. I remember when X-Men 97 came out, some people were mad that Cal Dodd got casted because they're like, well, why isn't Steve Wolverine? You had to come out and we're like, no, this is Cal's thing. I've never been a part of the original show. Yeah. This is all Cal.
I was fighting for Cal from day one. Yeah, I auditioned for it. They made me, well, I didn't. They sent me the audition for that, and I actually refused it. And I said, just get Cal. He's available, I'm sure. Get him. And gratefully, they did, because he was the right person for the job.
That's crazy to think about, though. What's also crazy, and I kind of hate the industry for this, but you said that every time you play Wolverine, you have to audition for it.
I do.
So you had to audition for Marvel Rivals as Wolverine?
I believe I did, yes. Yeah, because they want to make sure that I can still do it, because I'm in my 60s now. So they want to make sure that I can still do it, and then I can still sustain it for 4 hours at a time, or through an entire game or show. So they, I think it's due diligence that they have us audition. Some people have a real burr in their butt about it. It's annoying sometimes, because every once in a while, it's like, guys, there's 20 years of doing this. Can you just listen to that? And I can tell you that I can still do it. But no, they'll run me through the paces. Sometimes there's even a callback and whatever. And it's a new production team, so they have to prove their worth. So I get all that. It's fine. And sometimes it's annoying to me, but I just have to suck it up and say, no, I still get to audition for this. So yeah. But I think I did audition for that, if I remember right.
How has your approach to the role of Wolverine changed between X-Men Legends and even the most recent title, Marvel Rivals?
Wolverine is Wolverine for me. Sometimes it gets more feral or less feral. That's pretty much it. Sometimes I berserker barrage and sometimes I don't. The only difference really when Wolverine completely changed up was in Superhero Squad. Where it was kind of a chibi version of him, but he was still angry all the time, and he would still say, back off, bub. It was still Wolverine, just in a different form. But I did have to change it up and make it more user friendly. I couldn't, put the inferred cussing in it. So that was the only time. And he actually got to say snicked out loud, which the onomatopoeia for the sound of the claws coming out, which you see in the comics. It's always snicked, SNIKT. Which I had on my license plate on my car for years. I still have as a license plate frame on my new car. But I actually got to say that out loud. I got to say snicked as the claws were coming out. So that's the only time when we really changed Wolverine up completely. Other than that, it's the same old bub every single time. Just a little bit softer or harder or more feral, I think, are really the only parameters that change for him. But the dialogue even is very similar. And sometimes I feel like they don't have enough bubs, because he does say bub, or, some of the Wolverine jargon that he's come up with over the years. So every now and then I will insert a little bit of that into the current dialogue, especially if the writers aren't familiar with Wolverine. And sometimes they aren't. And they won't even write in Wolverine-isms, and it doesn't sound like him anymore. So I'll do it the way they ask me to, and then I will ask politely if I can add a few little nuances in there that I know the fans love and that they've always responded to. So I try not to be that dick like, well, Wolverine would never say it this way. I do it as written, and then I try to add that stuff in later.
Sick, man. And I don't know of a better person to do it with so much history with this character. For Marvel Rivals, did you audition for Wolverine or Venom first? Do you remember how that happened, or was one the consequence of another?
I think I auditioned for them both at the same time, because generally when we audition for games, they'll give us a list of characters to choose from, and we audition for a whole pile of them. I auditioned for a lot of characters for that. But we recorded Venom first. So I didn't even know for sure that I was going to get Wolverine until much later on. So gratefully, they let me do it. And it was a completely different look for him and everything. I never saw any of that stuff until we actually recorded. But yeah, Venom was first. So another character that was, way down in here. So Venom is always painful all the time, but worth it. Another one of those characters. It's worth it.
Venom, what's so interesting is, like, I love hearing the different variations of Venom you do, because in Ultimate Alliance 3, Venom is more, it's kind of higher, it's like more in your head kind of range, but with Marvel Rivals, it's more, I'm Venom.
Oh.
It's like, yeah, it's right here.
Full monster, yeah.
Yeah, it's full monster. It's so exciting. It's been so awesome to see how well received Marvel Rivals has become. Like,
I'm really happy about it. Yeah, it's really cool. Really cool.
And I think what's so awesome about, I'm kind of iffy about live service games a lot of the time, just because you hear so many horror stories. Like Concord, of course, was a live service game that unfortunately got canned by PlayStation. But the thing about live service games is, like, Wolverine and Venom, like, you are basically going to be playing those guys until the game ends. You know what I'm saying? And then they're always adding new heroes. Like, they just added Mr. Fantastic and stuff. Yeah. And they could even add heroes, characters you've played, like Green Goblin or Bullseye or you never know.
I'm available. Yeah.
That's all you can say. I'm available, man.
Please hire me. Yeah.
if you can't see the giant sign above Steve's head, that's what it says. Please hire me.
Still a horror after all these years. Please hire me. Yes.
I'm crying. But of course, you played Wolverine in Marvel vs. Capcom games, and of course, Ultimate Alliance. So I'm curious if there is any difference. What is the difference between recording for Marvel Rivals and, like, recording for Marvel vs. Capcom?
Couldn't tell you, honestly. It's the same process for me. It's I'm in the studio, they give me the assignment, and I just try to do the best I can. Recording process is very similar for them. I think Marvel vs. Capcom, if I remember right, was a little more frenetic in pace. We had to get more done in a day. We had a little more time, if I recall, with Marvel Rivals, and possibly because I've gotten better at it too, that the sessions just went faster. So in terms of the actual character performance, really the same. Yeah. And I just try to, perform as best I can without blowing myself out. So I do at this stage in my career too, I will let them know much more readily if I'm starting to feel pain and I have to shut it down. Back when I was doing Marvel vs. Capcom, it was like, no, bring it. I'll just do whatever you want. And I'll just blast through everything. Now it's like 2 hours and I go, guys, can we pick this up another time? So I'm just more conscious of the destruction of the instrument at this point. I've learned a lot more about the anatomy of the throat and stuff. So I'm a little more careful now than I used to be.
Copy. Well, this is my last question for the day, because I know you do have to get on, and I want to be respectful of your time as always, of course. But before we go, just again, always a pleasure, Steve. I could talk to you for hours on end. There's so much knowledge and so much stories that you could tell. I mean, my best subject in high school and, like, throughout school was history. I love history. I need to get back into more reading. My gosh, like, TikTok and Instagram has ruined my attention span. I need to get back into reading because I love history. You have so much history and there's so much we've learned today. And let me see if there are any fan questions because I know some people wanted to ask you some things and I don't want to leave them hanging. One fan question is, what was it like voicing King Nexel Cosmo in Mixels? What was that experience like?
Mixels. That was an interesting. Mixels was a really interesting one. We recorded that fast and furious. They weren't sure what they were going to do with it. We never even were sure if it was going to come out. And we put a lot of love into that. It was really fun recording those things. King Nixel was ridiculous, just a ridiculous character. And at that time, most of the characters I was doing were very cinematic or real kind of characters. These characters, we got to spread it out and get a little more into our cartoony fun time. So it was just a fun, different kind of project at that time in my career. And I'm glad that people saw it and resonated with it. Not enough people did, though. It didn't do very well, I don't think. So they had this whole toy line that they were going to do with it. I don't know if that ever came out. Did that ever come out? I don't even know.
I think the Lego versions of them did.
Oh, okay.
I think, hold on, because now I'm curious. Because I've seen Mixels around, but I think there's only, but it's not like a full dedicated line. See, it's like, it's like mini packets. It's not like full on sets. So I don't think it did.
There was a lot of competition in the toy market at that time. So I think that it just kind of got lost in the shuffle and they didn't get the funding that they needed behind it to promote it the way they normally would have for like a regular Hasbro production or something like that. So I think they it was just a timing thing because it was a fun show. It was really, from what I remember, it was a really fun show.
I remember seeing promotion for it all over Cartoon Network. I wish I would have seen it. There's so much stuff you're in. Like I've
never seen it either. So.
I hate to say this, but I'm like currently watching Cowboy Bebop after so many years.
Thank you for watching.
I
got my Cowboy Bebop glass right here.
Hey, you're killing it.
Yeah.
And I'm also loving how Logic. I wish I got it. Next time I bring you on, we'll talk about Logic because he's doing a lot of stuff with your character, Quentin Thomas. And I love how he's really leaning into the Cowboy Bebop aesthetic. He even did a Cowboy Bebop clothing line. Did you see that? Yeah, that's sick.
I have some stuff from it. Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, he sent me some stuff. Yeah, Ultra 85.
I love it. It's so good.
The album was so good and so satisfying for me because Kev and I, we're doing those characters from the very beginning, from Incredible True Story, and to get to flesh them out in Ultra 85 and then to get to narrate the whole book, Logic's book, Ultra 85. Wow, what an experience that was. It was incredible.
Incredible True Story turns 10 years old this year.
It's ridiculous. Just ridiculous. God, can't believe it.
I can't either.
Yeah, Bobby's a dad now a couple times over. So yeah, we've been through some life together. It's pretty amazing.
I love that. And I also love seeing you in like the music videos. Those are just like cute little cameos. Like you're the no, I ain't gonna lie. When I saw the music video for Everybody, you kind of scared me because you got intense. I was like, oh nah, I don't want Steve screaming at me.
When I'm screaming at him in the old man.
Yes.
Makeup,
like, oh my God.
Yeah, we did hours of makeup to do that character. And at first, they were just going to do it silent. They were going to record that stuff silent. And they said, when we were in production on that video, they said, no, yell at him full, hard out. And then the sound guys would go, this is really good stuff. We got to get set up microphones. We got to capture this. And so they actually brought in their audio team and they set up mics around us. So when I was yelling at them, they grabbed all that stuff and they put it in the video. It was great. It was really fun. And Bobby said, just lay into me, man. Just go. Beat the shit out of me. It was great. It was just great.
Sick, man. I hope you continue to do more stuff with him. And then what it dropped, I think Aquarius, the mixtape dropped, and you're also on that as well, which I was like, my boy Steve, there you go. Hell yeah, that's sick. I love that. Yeah. But my final question is about Green Goblin. I love Spectacular Spider-Man. Next time when I bring you on, I want to talk more about that character because I love Spectacular Spider-Man so much. When Green Goblin is throwing the bombs, Is that your voice?
Oh, the screaming bombs?
Yes.
The pumpkin bombs? No. Those things?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that was an effect. Pretty sure that was an effect.
Really?
I did record that because I'm an idiot nerd, and when it said that I'm throwing pumpkin bombs, I would do like the Wilhelm scream, that kind of thing. But I'm pretty sure that they went back into their effects library and they created that.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I thought that was you.
Nope, just
I'll get you, little spider. We all wear masks, Spider-Man. But which one is real? The one that's... What was it? The one that's on your face, or the one that is your face?
Yeah, I love that character so much. One of my favorites of all time.
You're killing me, Steve. I love it. And then you also did Chameleon on that show, which is another cool character. And you do someone else. He's like the dealer guy. He's like, yeah, you did him.
One of the kids too, one of the bully guys, I think. And
boom. Yep. Yeah. You did a ton of that. And I'm glad that he brought you back over for Young Justice, where he did like Count Vertigo and stuff like that.
Super fun. Yeah. Love that.
Well, Steve, it pains me to say I gotta let you go because I know you have things to do and stuff. But I just want to say again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for everything you do, not only as a performer, but for inspiring me to be better, for encouraging me, for just being there. I'm so glad to know you. I'm so happy to be able to celebrate your wins with you now personally. You know, I always dreamed of something like this happening, and for you to be able to do this, I don't think you understand how much stuff like this means to me. So thank you, Steve, from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate you. I love you. And I just can't wait to see more stuff happen in your life, good sir. So thank you for everything.
My honor and privilege. And I'm so proud of you for how far you've come, and you've got yourself an agent now. Hopefully we'll get to work together on a project soon.
Yes.
It'd be amazing. Absolutely amazing. Yeah. So I can't wait to see where you go from here. And just a quick shout out. Still doing Toonami every Saturday night. Only Toonami on Adult Swim.
Speaking of which, y'all, that speech that Steve gave when Black Lives Matter was happening has aged very well. Tap in. I'm gonna leave that in the description. Please be sure to follow Steve on all of his social media. We not doing Twitter no more. It's Blue Sky. Follow him on Blue Sky, Instagram, his website. I'll leave a link in the description to all of that. Thank you all so much for joining me, and I hope you have a beautiful, wonderful day. Peace out, guys.
Love you, Josh. Take care.